What's happening, guys, and welcome back. As you could probably tell from today's video, I'm finally home in Toronto on Canadian soil. It feels great to be back. I had an incredible time in Europe, as always, but it was very long and it just feels good to be back at home in my own bed. But today's video is actually a special request video because I posted on my Instagram a week ago at the Formula 1 race a series of photos of me and the Mercedes-Benz team. And everyone really liked the double exposure kind of photos that I created. And in doing so, people were messaging me non-stop saying, hey, how'd you do it? What tools are you using? So I want to walk through with you guys today and show you my techniques for creating double exposures. They're very simple. The first is using your camera device. The second is an app on your mobile device. And the last is just using plain old simple Photoshop. So it's a pretty simple tutorial. Hope you guys follow along and enjoy the video. Let's get it. Alright guys, so the first technique I use for creating double exposure is directly on my camera. At the moment I'm going to be using my 1DX Mark II, but if you own a Canon or any other kind of DSLR, the settings might be slightly different, so double check the menu options online. On my 1DX, I'm going to click on the menu button and scroll 3 columns in on that first camera setting. At the very bottom there's a multiple exposure option. I'm going to go ahead and enable it. After that, you'll notice some options listed below. Multiple exposure controls, which allows you to select exposure overlay style, the number of exposures, save sourcing, and continue settings. I'm going to leave the multiple exposure control on additive, which I find works best, 2 for the number of exposures, and the remaining settings as they are. At the very bottom, there is a select image for multiple exposure option. This allows you to select the first photo that you want to use for your double exposure. The best thing about this feature is that it allows you to select the image that you have already taken and that are stored on your memory card. The first image is going to be of my friend Alice. Then I'll walk around and try to capture the second photo to overlay. Here you want to think about the areas that are exposed. The best photos are of people that stand alone with as much white space around them as possible. All the dark areas of the image will be filled in with the second layer. Here's a first look. So I'm pretty happy with the photos I have of Alice so far, so I'm going to go and jump onto Photoshop and make any quick changes before opening up the photo on Lightroom and applying my preset. So what you want to do is export your image and you'll have a solid looking double exposure. Alright guys, so technique number 2 is pretty simple. What you need to do is download an app called Snapseed. It looks like this. You can download it on your iPhone or your Android device. It's free on the marketplace. Once you have the app downloaded, what you want to do is open it up and decide on your first image, which is your base layer. I typically have my photos edited prior to importing them, but if you want to use a photo that hasn't been edited, you can edit on the app itself as well. So once your base layer is selected, you go to Tools and you can scroll up where it says Double Exposure and then select your second layer. And then at the very bottom next to the X, you can import your second photo. Choose that second photo. In the middle, it has a category option which allows you to decide what kind of overlay you want. They have the default, they have lighten, darken, add, subtract, and overlay. And I typically go with lighten or add, depending on type of photo I have. For this one, we're just going to use light. Next to the selection tool, you have another option that allows you to change the opacity of that layer. So adjust it if you'd like. Once you're done, you can go to the top right corner and there's an option to see all the edits you've made to your photo. And then click on double exposure, and then there's a paintbrush tool. And then next to the X at the very bottom of the app, there's a tool that allows you to see the edit itself. And then you can brush off the excess, overlay or any details that you don't want to show on each of the layers. So what I do here is I typically clean it up a little bit. Once that's done, you can check mark, go back, and press export and save as a new copy. Very simple technique for doing double exposures, and there's your final result. Alright guys, before I jump into this last technique, I want to do a quick thank you to today's video sponsor, Squarespace. If you do not have a website or want to update your current website, they're the place to start. I've been using Squarespace for about 4 or 5 years now, and what can I really say? It works really well. One thing that I really enjoy about Squarespace is their live chat option. This is real-time conversations and immediate answers from their team, a feature which allows you to make the best decisions, save time building your website, and more importantly, get the best value in being a Squarespace member. Their team can help you set up your website and even organize it. The second thing I appreciate most about Squarespace is their catalog of templates for photographers and filmmakers. This is where I typically browse when I'm looking to update my website. And believe me, they do a great job in keeping up to date with their designs and web options. So head over to squarespace.com/Palander for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your website, save 10%. The last technique I use for creating double exposure images is using Photoshop. The best thing about this process is that you're somewhat cheating the process and really cutting out a lot of the hard work. Photoshop allows you to select 2 distinct images that you've taken in the past to merge them together, such as these 2 photos I've taken of my friend Brody. So select your first photo and then place embedded your second selection. Under the layers option, you'll notice a bunch of options for layering your photos. Select the one that you like best. After that, adjust your photo around and erase any excess content that you don't want. Save as a JPEG and you're all done. So there you guys go, 3 effective but very useful techniques for creating double exposures. I've been using these methods for a very long time and they work very well for me. Hope they work well for you. If you do have any suggestions on techniques that I should check out, leave them in the comments below. Always remember, this is a very creative process, so take your time with it and really think about the type of photos you use. It's 2 photos that go together to create one, or even more than 2 photos. So take it easy, relax with the process, and try to get as creative as you can. And as always, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. It's always amazing partnering with them to share content like this with you guys. And always be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys all next week. Peace!